Hey, welcome back. It's Jason Walter here. Is the housing market in California slowing down? In today's video, I'm going to be sharing all the stats with you, including an update regarding home prices, housing inventory, and much more. And stick to the end of this video because I'm going to be sharing how each region in California fared. Some regions in California are surging ahead, while others are lagging behind big time. And by the way, check out the link below if you want a real estate agent referral for virtually anywhere in the US. Check out the link below. And also consider subscribing as well if you haven't done so already. I post frequent housing market updates so you can make a more informed decision about whether to buy or sell a house right now. With that said, let's begin today's video. The California Association of Realtors, or CAR, released June's housing stats for California just last week, and they reported the following. The housing market appears to be moderating, with home sales in California decreasing for the second month in a row. Home sales decreased 2.2% from May, but were up 28.3% from 1 year ago. And again, I mentioned this 1,000 times on the channel, but I'm not putting a lot of weight into year-over-year housing stat numbers right now because of the pandemic lockdowns in March and April of last year, which caused home sales in June to falter. In other words, there's no big surprises here that in June home sales increased greatly on a year-over-year basis. All right, with that said, let's talk about home prices in California, which of course is a lagging indicator. In other words, this is what our housing market was 1 to 2 months ago when the home seller accepted an offer from a home buyer. If you recall from my previous videos, home price records were broken in California for the last 3 months in a row. To give you a frame of reference, after home prices declined in January and February of this year, the median sold price reached an all-time record high of $759,000 in March. Then it jumped to $814,000 in April, followed by $818,000 in May. Now in June, the median sold price in California increased to a new record high of $819,000. I did some additional research for you guys because, I'm a housing market data nerd, and I found this is the 9th record high since June of 2020. In other words, home prices in California reached an all-time record high in 9 out of the last 13 months. How nuts is that? So you're probably wondering, will this trend continue? Will home prices go up forever? And in my opinion, home prices may slightly decrease in July or August, and more on that in just a little bit. Something else I found very interesting and you should be aware of is the following. Home price growth has slowed greatly in May and June of this year. So for example, home prices increased by $55,000 from March to April of this year, but only $4,000 in May and only $1,000 in June. The California Association of Realtors had this to say. The pace of growth of home prices appeared to be decelerating. However, the change between May and June remained below 1%, and the increase was the smallest in the past 4 months. On a month-to-month basis, the statewide median price increase in June of 2021, which of course was 0.2%, was slightly below the average May to June growth rate of 1% observed between 1979 and 2020. So in other words, the very small price growth from May to June of this year is just below the average over the last 40 years. So let's see if this trend continues, and I'll definitely keep you posted. CAR Vice President and Chief Economist Jordan Levine had this to say. Tight supply, low rates, and the change in the mix of sales continue to be the primary factors pushing up home prices to record levels. However, we are expecting price growth to slow from this point on as the top end of the market begins moderating. More on that later. I'll discuss that here in just a little bit. With pending home sales down for the first time in 14 months, closed sales, which have declined 5 out of the last 6 months, will likely remain lackluster as the market enters the second half of the year. Let's talk about this because as I've been reporting over the past several months, we've been seeing more luxury home sales than ever before in California, and this is one of the main drivers of why the median high home price has reached record highs. However, the pace of luxury home sales in California and across the US, frankly, has been slowing. So the California Association of Realtors reported for June that homes that sold in the $1 million to $1.9 million range increased by 104% from a year ago, and houses sold over $2 million surged by 141%. In contrast, houses that sold for less than $400,000 decreased by double digits in California. But the sales of luxury houses has been decelerating, so have a look at this. Sales of houses over $2 million, that's that dark blue line there, decreased for the first few months of 2020, but then it skyrocketed starting in June before leveling off towards the end of the year into the beginning of 2021. This spring, they took off again with year-over-year gains of 324% set in May before slowing down to a 141% increase in June. So in other words, we went from a 324% year-over-year increase of luxury home sales in May, and then we decreased that to 141% in June. So clearly the sales of luxury homes is still strong, but it's clearly decelerating. If this continues, plus a further drop of home sales in the $1 to $1.9 million price range, then home sales overall in California could decrease in the coming months. In addition, pending home sales have been decreasing lately despite an increase of housing inventory. So pendings actually dropped 11% in June compared to last year. And this is after pending home sales decreased 10% in May. If contract signs continue to decrease, this could signify that home sales will decrease in the coming months as well. That mixed with a dip of luxury home sales plus an increase of housing inventory could signify that home prices could soften in July or August of this year. However, keep this in mind because our real estate market in general is seasonal, not like 2020, but in general, our housing market does have its ebbs and flows throughout the year. So during the summer months, home sales tend to decrease and housing inventory increases. In doing so, home prices could soften as well. All right, going back to this report, housing inventory has been increasing lately. So in June, active listings, which of course is housing inventory, reached its highest level since October 2020. The number of houses for sale increased 15% in June. The number of new active listings is still down 12% from 2 years ago, but it increased both month over month and year over year by around 8% in June 2021. And Carr stated that housing supply typically climbs during this time of the year and remains on an upward trend until late July, early August. In addition, houses in California are still selling very, very quickly. The average days on the market was only 8 days in June. In addition, the sale to list price ratio reached a record high of 104.1%. That means houses sold for 4.1% above the seller's asking price. The average price per square foot also reached an all-time record high. Mortgage interest rates were also very low in June. So the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 2.98% according to Freddie Mac as of June. That's down slightly from 3.16% in June of 2020. All right, changing gears slightly, let's discuss how each region in California fared because not every real estate market's the same, right? And there's some pretty big differences here. Carr breaks down the state in 5 major regions. So 4 out of those 5 major regions set new records for home prices, with each region increasing by more than 20% compared to last June. The San Francisco Bay Area grew at the fastest pace with a whopping 35% gain. On a county level, all 51 counties tracked by Carr experienced an increase of home sold prices on a year-over-year basis, with 47 of them surging ahead by double digits. Del Norte had the largest price gain of a staggering 48% increase in June. To be honest, I had no idea where Del Norte County was located, so I actually did a Google search here, and I found that it's located in the far northwestern corner of the state, just south of the Oregon border. Additionally, 25 out of the 51 counties set a new record high for home prices. In contrast, San Francisco was only one of 3 counties in the state that experienced the lowest amount of home price growth, with only an 8% increase from June of 2020. In addition, nearly 9 out of the 10 counties tracked by Carr had a year-over-year increase of closed home sales in June, with 39 counties surging by more than 10% in home sales from last year. Mono had the strongest growth of home sales from a year ago at 100%, followed by San Francisco. Counties with an increase from last year had an average gain of 31% in June compared to 89% in May. So the pace of home sales is increasing, but at a much slower rate than May. Almost all counties declined in active listings, which of course is housing inventory, in June. Marin had the biggest decline of active listings, plunging by 59% year over year, while Ventura also dropped by more than half with a 51% slide from a year ago. Sutter, Lassen, and Stanislaus were the only counties in the state with an increase of active listings from the prior year. All right, let's have a closer look at how each region in California fared and also how each county fared as well, because there's some pretty big differences here. So the best way to do this, of course, is to share my screen with you. Let me do that with you right now. All right, so before that, a quick recap here. Here's single family houses in California. Of course, prices only increased by 0.2% on a month-to-month basis, and sales decreased 2.2% on a month-to-month basis as well. But I wanted to point out was how this compares to townhouses and sales of condos in California as well, because prices only increased on a month-to-month basis for single family houses by 0.2%. But take a look at condos and townhomes. They increased by 1.4%. In addition, sales increased by 7.9%, whereas single-family houses decreased. Sales on a year-to-year basis also surged well ahead of single-family houses as well. Anyways, wanted to point that out to you. I thought that was interesting. So let's go over how each region fared and also how each county fared. So here's what I found to be very interesting. The Central Coast decreased by 1.1% on a month-to-month basis, and sales only increased 9.7%. This is the only region in California that had an increase of sales on a month-to-month basis by less than 10%. In addition, this is the only region that had a decrease of prices on a month-to-month basis, whereas all the other ones had a slight increase in prices. In addition, I want to point out the average home prices or median high home prices in California. So in the Central Valley, the median high home price in June was $452,000. In the San Francisco Bay Area, it's about $1 million more than that, $1.4 million. All right, let's go over what we're seeing in the San Francisco Bay Area. So Alameda and Contra Costa are in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area, and those have actually experienced a decrease of month-to-month home prices there, which in stark contrast, Napa has had an increase of 14% on a month-to-month basis. San Francisco, the median high home price there, $1.9 million. San Mateo, $2.3 million, and Santa Clara, $1.7 million. Compare that to the Central Valley, $452,000. Crazy. Napa increased 14%, like I said. San Francisco, sales increased on a month-to-month basis by 24%. And have a look at this. Year-to-date sales numbers up 87% in San Francisco. Meanwhile, prices there increased 2.6%, lagging well behind Napa, of course. In San Mateo, sales increased on a month-to-month basis there, but only 3.8%. Compare that to San Francisco, 24%. All right, let's go over Southern California. So every region in Southern California, or every county in Southern California that they cover, home prices increased there on a month-to-month basis, and home sales also increased on a month-to-month basis. San Diego was kind of lagging behind though, with only a 1.6% increase on a month-to-month basis. We compare that to Los Angeles, it increased by 9.7%. In addition, San Diego had an increase of home sales though of 16%. All right, let's talk about the Central Coast. And I actually found this very surprising because the Central Coast was absolutely booming early on during this pandemic. A lot of people were moving to Monterey, Santa Cruz, San Luis Obispo, for example. But things have kind of turned a little bit though. So take a look at Monterey. Decrease of prices by 2.8%. Santa Barbara, what is going on with Santa Barbara? 28% decrease of the median high home prices there. So if anyone has any knowledge about what's going on with Santa Barbara, love to hear from you, because home prices decreased by $1.3 million to now $935,000, which is below Santa Cruz. I never thought Santa Cruz would have a home prices there of $1.2 million. Absolutely crazy. And then home prices there decreased by 9.6% on a month-to-month basis. In contrast, San Luis Obispo had an increase of home sales there by 18%, whereas Santa Barbara decreased by 6%. All right, let's now go over Central Valley numbers here. And that's where, of course, where I'm from. I'm in the Sacramento region. So Glenn County, they actually decreased in home prices there by 19%, and sales decreased 57% on a year-to-date basis. I'm not too familiar with Glenn County, but if anyone knows, please leave us a comment below with what you're seeing there. Sacramento, where I'm from, of course, $525,000 is the median home price there in June. That's an increase from $417,000 from a year ago. That's a 5% increase on a month-to-month basis, which if out of all the counties in Central Valley, this is the highest increase on a month-to-month basis of 5%. That's quite remarkable. In just 1 month, home prices increased by 5% there. And prices increased on a year-to-date basis by almost 26%, and sales on a month-to-month basis increased 12%. All right, let's go over the far north region of California. And so Plumas, which is just about an hour north of Sacramento, I'm actually found this quite surprising because I know earlier on during this pandemic, home sales and prices absolutely surged ahead earlier on during this pandemic, but it seems like they're kind of turning around here. So Plumas County here, prices decrease 6.6%, sales decrease about 6% as well. In contrast, Siskiyou County, sales increase on a month-to-month basis by 70%. Other counties to note here, Del Norte, like we mentioned here earlier in this video, those prices there decreased by 14%, yet home sales increase 200%. Mono County, they also have a decrease of home prices there by 28% on a month-to-month basis. So let's now go over the median time on the market, or days on the market. This is the average time it takes for a home seller to list their houses to when they ultimately accept an offer from a home buyer. So take a look at these year-to-year numbers here. So June 2021 compared to June 2020. So overall for California single-family houses, right now the average days on the market, it's 8 days. We compare that to 1 year ago, over double that, 19 days. But have a look at this when you look at each of the major regions in California, because there's some huge differences on a year-to-year basis. So Los Angeles Metro went from 23 days to 8 days. Central Coast went from 25 days to 8 days in just 1 single year. Central Valley, about half of what it was last year. The far north, take a look at that. 30 days it took to sell a house last year. In June of this year, only 11 days, so about a third of the time it took to sell a house 1 year ago. Then Inland Empire as well, 29, now it's only 8 days. So when you look at all these major regions in California, what I found most interesting is that almost every single one of these regions have a median days in the market in the range of 7 to 9 days. So it's not like we have one region where it's taking a lot of time to sell the houses. In general, we're seeing houses selling very quickly across the state. So check out the link below if you want a real estate agent referral for virtually anywhere in the US. Also consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And also please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. You also can follow me on Instagram. I'm Sacramento Realtor. Hope you have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.